So, this is a message that came through for me last night, and I felt called to share it. I trust that you will use your discernment. You'll know if this message is for you, and if it is, welcome. And if you feel into it and you sense that it's not for you, that's also okay. In fact, that's great. And I trust that you will trust that. The other thing I'll say before I get into this message is that, like I said, it came through last night and I took a few notes. So I'll be looking at my notes, which are on the screen right now with me. So if you see me looking away or to the side, that's where I'm looking. But also, I should probably say that I am neurodivergent, and one of the ways that my neurodivergent shows up is that sometimes my eyes kind of go all over the place when I talk. So I'm going to do my best to make eye contact with you, but if I'm looking at my notes or if my eyes are going all over the place as I'm thinking and connecting dots, please just know that that's just the way that my eyes work. That's just the way that I express myself, and I hope it's not too distracting for you. So here's the message that came through. This is a moment in which you are being called to learn that you are safe when things are good. It's a moment where you are being called to face your fear of how good things can get, of how good you can actually feel, of how much what is really in alignment for you, you can actually start to receive. And I know that it feels more comfortable, more familiar, perhaps safer for you to doubt the validity of the good, right? If this is resonating for you, you know what I mean. It feels safer to be a little bit skeptical of the good and to mistrust that what's actually in alignment for you, what you can actually feel starting to make its way into your life and become available for you, is actually real, that you can actually believe it. And Spirit is calling you to practice believing in and receiving the good, because you already know how to be with what doesn't align. You already know how to navigate what feels difficult or what feels like some kind of blockage or some kind of loss. And what you're learning now, what you're being called to learn now, is how to be with the experience of actually feeling safe with what is aligned and what is good starting to show up in your life. How to be with the experience of that which is aligned and good actually being real and material and tangible and changing things in your life. And this is especially true when it comes to this alignment and this good and this change showing up in the form of people who are really excited about you, people who are really excited about being your collaborator, your co-creator, your partner in all of the various senses of that word. And the evidence of this is no longer deniable at all for you. The synchronicities around the folks who are beginning to show up, they're too intense. And so you know that it's real. You know that it's undeniable. And yet, this scared part of you is still trying so hard to disbelieve it. This scared part is trying so hard to stay in that familiar place of doubt. And of course, we love and honor this scared part of you. Of course, we understand that it is trying to protect you, right? But the time is now, my love. It just is. It's time. It's time to move forward acting like you know what you know. It's time to move forward acting like you trust what you know. And what you know is that our collective liberation timeline is real, is materializing, is happening right now. And you see the evidence of it everywhere. And the evidence of it in your life right now, it's showing up in the form of relationships, people, connections that are either entering your life for the first time or connections that are existing but now solidifying in a new way or expanding in a new way. And this is happening because our collective liberation timeline, it can only be created through people. It can only be created through relationships. And so we are now being drawn to and called to invest in those relationships through which we feel, we know on a soul level that we're here to help with the co-creation and the co-generation and co-birthing of this liberated timeline for the collective. And some of these relationships that are showing up in your life now, you'll notice that there's a little bit of a split or a distinction between how they show up. Some of them are showing up and being formed or deepened because of how you are having the shared experience of navigating some kind of external harm or pain. And it's through the navigation of that thing that's being experienced by each of you that you're growing deeper bonds. And people will mistakenly call that a trauma bond, but that's not what a trauma bond is. Trauma bonding isn't we both went through something that was traumatic together. Trauma bonding is actually something that's present in abusive and coercive dynamics. It's present in cycles of violence between people in an intimate connection, and that's not what I'm talking about. So I'm not talking about trauma bonding. What I'm talking about with this set of connections that you're experiencing, either entering your life or deepening in your life, is you and another person, or maybe a group of people, all experiencing something from the outside, from outside of that relational formation that is harmful or perhaps even traumatic. And, you know, maybe one person in that pairing or that group of people is the person who is the most directly impacted or who most directly names the shared impact. Maybe you are that person. But then once that happens, everyone else is then able to recognize, you know what, you're right, this really does hurt. And it's through that experience of trusting what the body feels and then supporting another person or a group of people in trusting what their body knows through feeling, that's how the connection initially deepens. And then through that experience comes this shared calling to be the medicine for whatever the wound was that was experienced. So I hope that makes sense. A little bit of a roundabout explanation, but that's how it came through. So I hope that makes sense. So some of your new connections might be initiated in that way through that place. But some of them are coming into your life from a place of shared joy or shared pleasure, shared discovery or peace. And what I'm picking up on is that this is a newer experience for you. You have more experience when it comes to deepening connections with people through that shared experience of navigating harm that I named earlier. And you're now beginning to have the experience of connecting deeply with people through sharing in an experience of peace and of joy and of pleasure. You know, there's the experience of connecting with people because you're all equally maladjusted to the same expression of hierarchy or violence. And, you know, you're all like, oh, it's so nice to know that I'm not alone in this and we can navigate this together. And that's really important. We need that. And we need connections that form in that way. There's nothing wrong with that. And we've had a lot of that because we've navigated a really painful and traumatizing collective reality. And it's now also your experience to meet people and connect with people and deepen connections with people over time through joy, through peace. And what I'm sensing is this feels much less familiar and perhaps much harder for you to trust. It's a little bit harder for you to trust that you know what you know about a connection when it comes to that kind of co-creative magic that's present and available in relationships that originate from a shared experience of the good. It's been a little easier for you to trust a connection when that connection grows out of the shared experience of navigating harm. And now you get to learn how to trust a relationship when it grows out of joy. Now, one of these is not better than the other. There's no value judgment. One is more representative of what we have collectively had to navigate of our shared reality and what we are still, of course, navigating in so many ways as this false, violent, hierarchical reality crumbles. And the other is more representative of that liberated timeline that we are in the process of rooting into right now. And we are rooting into this liberated timeline person to person. We're rooting into it relationship by relationship. And this is why I say in my practice as a relational coach that every relationship is a potential portal to a more liberated world. That's what I mean when I say that. And that is the experience that you are here for. That's what you're here to co-create. I heard a creator on Instagram recently whose name I cannot recall, but I heard her say recently that a soulmate is not a person. A soulmate is not a kind of relationship that shows up in your life. She said that soulmate is a verb. Soulmate is something that we are here to do, to be, to practice. And that's also much of what I mean when I say that every relationship is a potential portal to a more liberated world. And this is why I'm here to do the work that I do with people who are ready to soulmate as a verb and who know that that's what they're here for, and who are really ready to receive support and guidance on that path to shared relational liberation. So if that sounds like you, you can check the description below for more info on how to connect with me and how to work with me one-on-one. But let's get back to this part of you that's scared. This part of you that is still fighting to disbelieve or disprove that this is real, that this is happening, that these liberated connections that you're starting to notice are actually real, and that this co-creative liberated reality is actually possible. Even as the tangible evidence arrives, this part of you is still scared. And if we spend some time with that part and speak directly to that part, I know that part of you is really young. It's a really young part of you. And it's a part of you that has been scared for a really long time. We can meet that part with so much compassion and so much love. It's not wrong for being here. And I can tell you and that part of you, from where I sit, from what I see, from what I receive, that we have actually already won. We've already arrived. This liberated timeline, it's already real. We are now just living into the reality of it as the old reality is falling. It's not a question of whether or not this liberated timeline is possible or real. It's actually already here. And through our relationships, we are rooting the material expression of it more and more into our shared reality. And so it's actually, I hope, a reason for that part of you to trust that there's nothing to be afraid of, no matter what happens. And of course, it doesn't mean that we're all going to make it to the same place at the same time. It doesn't mean we're all going to live this out in the same way, but a lot of us, and if you're here, you're one of that number. A lot of us, we are becoming quite conscious of exactly what it is that we specifically are being called to co-create through our relationships as a part of this collective rooting into this shared liberation timeline. And those relationships, they are coming into material form. They're coming online. They're deepening in their magnitude at this time, because it's through those relationships that we actually get to nurture the growth of a new reality out of the soil of a liberated timeline. And this word liberated, it came through for me in this message that I received last night, and it's no coincidence that this word liberated also came up for me earlier this week as I was actually in session with my therapist, and I was describing to her a recent moment that I had of recognizing that I was experiencing in my actual physical material reality the emerging presence of new liberated relationships showing up in my life in the form of new people. people who are new to me, supposedly, if, time is linear, but also people who I could immediately recognize on a soul level in that moment, and that I could sense that I was actually remembering that I had known in other timelines, other lifetimes, and there's a lot more to get into about that experience, and perhaps I will share more about that over time. But I was describing to my therapist this moment when it really landed for me in my body, that this was actually happening, that I was actually experiencing this in my physical reality, and the new people were actually showing up. They were actually here. And the experience of these new liberated relationships was actually taking root in my life. And the way that that recognition moved through my body was that I'm seeing the scene in my head right now, and it kind of looks like something out of a movie, but it actually, I threw my arms out wide. I was walking by myself, and it was a beautiful night in a beautiful place, and I felt completely safe and completely held and cherished by that land. And I felt this overwhelming sense of like, okay, we're here, it's happening. And I couldn't contain it. I just was walking, and I literally threw my arms up and out into the air, wide open. And I lifted my head up to the sky, and I was just walking like that until I got to where I was going. And when I described this to my therapist, she said the word liberated is what came to mind for her, that it sounded like a moment of actually experiencing liberation in the body. And I think she was right. And I think if this message is resonating for you, you also know what this feels like. You're starting to feel this in your body too. And these are the kinds of relationships that are showing up for you now. This is the kind of liberated energy that is taking root more deeply in your existing relationships now. And you know that this is real. You know it's really happening. You feel it. And Spirit is calling me to share with you that it is absolutely time to start moving as though you know it, to start living as though you know it, because you do. The lesson of previous seasons came from how you learned to navigate doubt and fear when it comes to trusting that you know what you know. But that season is over. It served its purpose and it's done. And you moved through that. You felt all the feelings as you moved through that. You didn't bypass anything. You alchemized all of that energy as you moved through that. And there's just this last little remaining bit of fear. What I'm picking up on is that your fear, your doubt, it used to be fear of the evidence of this liberated relational reality never actually showing up in your life in a material way. Because you could always feel and sense that this timeline was present and available and taking root for us collectively. Your fear used to be, yeah, but will it ever actually show up in a real material way in my life, in my relationships? And now that it actually is, now that it's here, now that it's happening, now that people, other human beings are actually showing up and taking up space in a physical way in your life, in a way that you can't deny anymore, that last remaining bit of fear, it's no longer about will it ever show up because it's here. It's about, now that it's here, can I trust that it's real? Can I trust that it won't disappear? Can I trust that I'm not making it up? And so the question that Spirit is posing to you is, can you trust? Can you trust? Will you decide to trust? Because we actually need you to trust. We need you to decide that you know what you know about love, about relationships, about the timeline that we are now collectively rooting into. We need you to trust that and then to start moving and co-creating from that place. Within those relationships that are emerging from that place, we need that collectively. And you know that we need that. You can't unknow that anymore. This message is simply a reminder of what you already know, an encouragement for you to trust what you know, and an invitation to practice learning how to relax and feel safe as that reality that you've always known was possible internally starts to show up for you in your reality in the form of relationships with other people. You're learning how to trust that the good is real. And I'm honored to serve as a reminder of this for you and a guide. And there's so much more to talk about, so much more that came through. But I think we'll leave it here for now. And I love you so much. And we'll talk soon.